what are your thoughts on modern day love in general? Like, what are and the situation is? And that's a big question to ask. Big question to ask, but I think the idea of what it was maybe when our parents are growing up to what it is now. What do you think on it?
I think what our parents experienced is so much easier and more straightforward than what we experience. Because like I think there's so many different, like when you speak to someone, you never know what their aims, like our overall aims of coming out of it, like whether it's like just to sleep with you or if they actually want something out of it. Whereas like back then it was so straightforward of if you met someone, like you were going to be together. Whereas
but only that one person. Because then if that didn't work, then you couldn't leave that. Because then if you got someone else, then there's that all that stigma. It's more free now because there's no barriers to it that there used to be.
Yeah.
You can do what you want.
Also, I could not imagine marrying someone at this age.
No.
You wouldn't. You'd have married him 3 years ago. You'd have kids by now.
I think relationships have just come more like relaxed.
Yeah, it's more like
yeah.
In the sense, and some people take open a little bit
too
far,
seriously,
and others are kind of like, I don't know. I think it's just sometimes the intentions can get lost a little bit with each other because it's so open. Where you don't really know where people's heads are at, and it's just kind of like it can sometimes be a situation where someone's not got the same intentions as you have.
Yeah.
Whereas like back then, I'd imagine that's not really the case.
Do you think that's a good or bad thing?
Depends.
On what?
I think for some people it's a good thing, but for others, like if you say take someone who, like we were speaking about earlier, is like a relationship person, wants to be in a relationship, that if the other person's not on the same wavelength as them, it just doesn't, someone's going to end up getting hurt. Whereas the other way around, when it's just straightforward, a relationship was a relationship, everyone kind of knew where they stood with people.
Yeah.
Do you think because of those like complexities and the introduction of stuff like talking stages and things like that, do you think that's maybe because of why that's happened?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's way more like it's like Rose was saying, it's not straightforward.
And you can tell as well, because like I don't know about anyone else's parents, but like my dad doesn't know what a talking stage is. He's like, I don't know what that means. So you're together or you're not. Like in them, back when they were like that, they just like they'd be like dating someone and then they'd pretty much get together.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like just so different. There's so many different stages of getting to know someone.
What are they? What are the stages, in your opinion?
I'd say meeting someone, then like chatting to them, just kind of getting to know them, and then you go to the talking stage.
What's the difference between chatting to and talking to them?
Talking stage is like intention of kind of going somewhere.
Yeah.
I'd say. Well, normally, and then you'd be seeing each other.
Yeah.
So like you're actually like exclusive. That's the exclusive stage, and then you get together.
Yeah.
But it's exclusive not being together.
No, I don't think.
Why not?
That's.
I mean, the being together is just a label, isn't
Yeah.
it? But like I'd say that when you're like seeing someone, it's more often, it should be
People
exclusive,
more
but it's
often
not
not
like cheating if you're not.
Don't you think it's
Yeah.
just giving people who don't actually want to be there a way out?
Yeah,
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 I
feel bad
exactly.
about it.
100%.
Completely, but it's just.
Why are you there in the first place?
I'm not speaking from a person.
No. Theoretically, why are they there in the first place?
I don't know, because during the talking stage, they've got to like that person.
Yeah.
And it becomes a routine of talking to someone and maybe seeing them. So then it's kind of easy to stay.
I think it's more the people that are giving themselves a way out, sort of, if they want to get with someone else, they can use it as a defence.
Yeah,
we
completely.
were.
definitely.
Or more that, like, I'm in it, but it's a way out if I think I'm getting in too deep.
Yeah.
Which one do you think is more?
I'd probably say.
Again, I think it depends.
I
on the
think
person.
it's just an easy place to be to get out.
Yeah.
Right.
But for either party, I think like. I don't know, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. Because I think why would you want to be like that? Gives you a chance to get to know someone properly before you then like we'll get together.
Right.
So you can kind of
I
get
feel
out
like it's a bit of a red flag though if you're like in that exclusive stage for a
For
while.
ages,
So I think it just shows that like neither of you are ready to actually like fully commit. But then if you're both like happy with it, like
Yeah.
know the intentions, then I suppose it's
Oscar, thoughts?
To be honest.
What are then? How long do you think you should be talking for? How long do you think you should be in the exclusive stage for?
I think it depends
how
on
long
like
you've known them.
yeah, how long you've known them and like how often you're seeing them. Because like for me, I met my boyfriend in August and then we went straight into like long distance. So it was a bit like, well, we weren't really seeing each other that much. So like to commit to actually boyfriend and girlfriend, we kind of like took a bit longer, I'd say, than people that actually see each other like every week.
Yeah,
I
I
was
agree
the
with
complete
that.
opposite.
Right.
I first started seeing her and then saw her literally every day, so it was the complete opposite. It was much quicker.
Yeah, I feel like uni relationships when two people meet at uni are often, just from people I've seen do it, it goes more fast paced because you do see them literally like whenever you want. You live in like a stone's throw away from each other, so it makes it easier to get into that situation.
Yeah.
What are the key successes to a talking stage then? Because obviously we said about a talking stage there is a certain amount of time. What are the key elements you think is it makes it either a success and move on to the next bit, or that eventually stops it?
Say like communication,
Yeah.
so like you both know your intentions.
Equal effort as well.
Yeah, from like the get go, so it's not like you're not putting effort into
Yeah.
something that's not gonna kind of bring you anything back in, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
it's like making sure it's equal and like you know what you're there for.
Yeah.
So how do they show that then? If it's just a talking stage and you're not really meeting up that often and they're just messaging without being too much to push you
showing an
away.
interest
Yeah.
in them really, and like I don't know, just a bit.
Even just having a conversation as well.
Yeah.
Being like, I don't know.
I feel like you can kind of tell just like if you want to talk, if you know like someone wants to talk to you or not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can.
if there's
tell,
like
isn't
you
it?
can
really
tell.
slow replies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you talk to them like face to face as well, like you just
Yeah.
tell like if it's like awkward. And that's fine.
Where are those like red flags at the stage? Like, what are those things that you're sort of like looking out for and maybe show with the other person?
I'd say like consistency. If like one day you're messaging, like everything's fine, you've seen them, and then the next day you don't hear from them for 12 hours, you're a bit like,
Yeah.
that's a bit of a red flag, I'd say.
Ghosting is
Yeah.
definitely a red flag.
Yeah, because I just think if you don't want to speak, just open it and
Yeah,
out.
Yeah.
literally.
We don't need to, because then you're essentially leaving the person hanging,
Yeah.
which I think is like, you're keeping them there for when you want to speak to them, and then
Yeah.
Yeah.
you'll just like get back to it when you want to, but obviously there's another person.
What would you say ghosting is? You said mentioning ghosting there. What would you actually class that as?
Like
Like
leaving you on red.
not opening their message
Yeah.
for like, I'd say more than like 5 hours.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay.
5 hours.
Yeah.
So after 3, you wouldn't think that was all wrong.
No, because I just think if they're busy,
Yeah.
if they're at work,
I think it depends on what point of the conversation it is.
Yeah.
Because if they've said like, I'm doing this, so if I said I'm going to play football and then did message for 2 hours, you know I'm not messaging.
Yeah.
But if I've just asked how you are
Mm.
and then just disappeared for the same amount of time, then you.
I think that also that like if they just opened your message, and then like if you said like, oh, how are you, and then they just opened it, if they then said after like 3 hours, oh, sorry, like sorry for the long reply, like I did this, then I'd be like, because I would be fuming in that 3 hours,
Yeah.
like, why is he not replying?
because it does take like 10 seconds
To just
type
reply,
back and
but
be
then
like,
I
really
think if-
busy, I'll speak to you later.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But then I guess it depends on like how far into the talking stage you are for that. Because like you wouldn't necessarily be like making excuses if you just started talking. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you think it's all about communication then?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
definitely.
probably like the main thing.
How important? Why do you think that's? I mean, so
'Cause
important.
When there's like no communication, it makes you question. It just makes you like question their intentions, and then that could kind of
Well, it's the
push you
first
back.
stage, isn't it? So you don't
Yeah.
actually know each other that well.
Yeah.
So you need like that consistent, because like you don't know what their intentions are. Like if it's like obviously if you like know them really well, you won't like sort of like you can sort of play it off a little bit more. Whereas like talking stage, you do need to like keep it consistent and like make your intentions clear. Sort of.
And I'd also say it's never going to get easier than that. So if you can't communicate over like a simple conversation, then if you actually have genuine problems down
Yeah.
the line,
Mm.
then you won't be able to communicate them and it'll fail.
Why do you think that doesn't happen then? Why doesn't this communication happen? Why? I mean, I'm assuming you've all been in relationships where this communication's broken down or think ghosting has happened. Why hasn't happened, or why do you think that doesn't happen?
I'd say from my experience of where like communication's gone, I'd say it was probably just I don't know, it kind of was lack of effort from each part, and then it kind of just, for me anyway, I could tell it was coming to like almost a natural end, So it was a bit like, what's the point in like keeping up this conversation? Like, it's boring me now.
Yeah.
Like, I'd get quite bored. Like, I'd just be like, oh, I
I
don't.
also think if it's the right person, you don't even
Yeah,
try.
completely.
It just happens.
It's when you have to start like trying for conversation,
Yeah.
you start being a bit like, oh god,
Like,
like, this is a bit
yeah.
tedious now,
Yeah.
and then it makes it quite easier to like let go of that.
Turns to like small talk more.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
not what you want really. You want like chemistry and stuff.
Do you think that social media, in a sense, has made it also very easy for us to communicate? I think it's made it too much for us to communicate. The fact that you can be talking all the time.
Yeah.
The fact that there's
Yeah.
messages going all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, because then it's like you get to the point where if you see that person, so let's say they've been
Yeah,
messaging, you see them, and it's kind of like, well, we spoke about everything.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes it's like having the balance of like messaging in the day,
Yeah.
or not. And then
Mm.
if you know you're going to see them that evening, it's kind of like you don't need
don't
to
need
message
to
all day
yeah.
because you're going to be seeing them. Like you can catch up on your day then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of keeps it.
Yeah, I'd much
I
rather
agree.
like talk when you wake up, ask how they've slept, and
Yeah.
ask them what they're doing during the day, and then just not talk to them
Yeah.
unless they need you, and then in the evening you can sort of recap on everything they've
Yeah.
done during
Yeah.
the day, because then that conversation in the evening is actually meaningful
Yeah.
rather than just
Otherwise, you're
Awesome.
just talking for the sake of talking,
Yeah.
and it can get a bit.
Just boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.